Okay, everyone, welcome to the MIT Real Estate Innovation Lab Science Fair. So instead of you sitting and then listening to a group of us talk about our research projects for the next 15 to 20 minutes, we thought it would be best for you to get up and to engage with the real live scientists who actually produce the work. So, in a moment, we will get to understanding what that exactly is, but before that, I'll get to talking to you about what is the MIT Real Estate Innovation Lab. Okay, so if you haven't noticed, and if we haven't informed you enough in the past 2 days, things are changing. We're at a bit of an inflection point here in society with the rise of big data, wide data. We're at an inflection point with the use of artificial intelligence and machine learning. We're at an inflection point with the rise of robotics. You know, has anybody seen the Boston Dynamics robot running through the fields last week? Anybody get a little jazzed? A little scared? So what was fundamentally really fascinating about this sort of very particular inflection point in society is that it's happening at a faster rate. So we've been trudging along doing artificial intelligence for about 45 years now. Robotics have been around for probably about 40 years, if we think about what has happened here in the MIT community. But we've been working on that for such a long time, but we haven't had essentially the computational backbone to be able to muster all that we needed to do with artificial intelligence and robotics. But this is really profoundly starting to change. So in the lab, what we try to do is understand how types of technological changes have a tremendous impact on the built environment. We are the fundamental research and development entity that tries to anchor innovation for our sector. How is change happening? What are we going to do about it? What are the financial and economic impacts? So we have a really fantastic team around the room, and slide difficulties happen all the time. This is MIT. It's very common to have technological problems. We have an amazing team that has together very cross-disciplinary, trained as a financial economist in statistics, and all of my PhD work has been in asset pricing, the financial performance of innovative real estate products. When I landed here at MIT 6 years ago, what was really, really fantastic is that we had this community of professors who were engaged in urban design, asset pricing and econometrics, and urban economics, who were really trying to understand change as well. Well, what we saw in creating this Real Estate Innovation Lab group was ultimately a cross-disciplinary approach. So we have, within the lab, computational urban designers, computational architects. And what are those? You're like, what the heck does that mean? Well, these are the types of people who can actually permutate through all of the designs and forms that many of you in the room as institutional investors use at the end of the day. So you're like, oh, that's a great design. Can you do something different? Well, it used to take, 3 weeks to come up with something different. 3 hours. So fundamentally, what's happening is this rapid increase or rapid rate of change around how we could explore innovation, how we can explore design, and then put this into financial performance databases and see, does this work? Can we actually have these as feasible urban design or architectural design templates? Now, why is that incredibly important in a lab with a whole bunch of urban planners, financial economists, computational designers? Well, because we can cycle through the permutations of innovation. Because the biggest inventors in the built environment, the people who are constantly postulating what is happening in physical space and how people are using it, tends to be the architects, the people who actually have to design for it. So they're inventing continuously all the time. And in the lab, we're reaching our hands out across the School of Architecture and Planning and saying, hey, architects, hey, designers, let's play together. Let's figure out how we can innovate and what will make it financially feasible for real people and real communities down the road. So that's really like the impetus behind the lab. And what's more important, and I think very exciting, is that we've grown out of asking that question. So we started out with asking questions of, hey, how do we have smart, connected, and green buildings? And what is the financial value of that? And what does that mean? And Katero Bando and Zoya Puri are going to stand together today, and they're going to actually showcase to you how they've built an analysis of what is the incremental value to smart, connected, and green buildings. Now, to do this type of analysis, we have a lot of people who would say, but did you take into consideration where all the train stations were? But did you take into consideration that specific type of atrium? Did you take into consideration that it was in that really hip and cool neighborhood? And we'd say, yes, because with statistics and big and wide data, we can. So this project takes into account 6 distinct databases, pairs them all together to be able to answer this question, which is increasing the number of databases that we use in asset financial performance all over. In this project, led by Daniel Fink and Minku Rang, this is the New York City-wide data project. This is the backbone behind the entire lab. What's in here is essentially 4,000 variables for every single building in Manhattan. Now, if you're a statistician, or if you love data, or if you love information, that's a lot of information. So what we're trying to do in here is we're trying to actually create a geometric, geospatial, relational database where private data providers, such as Real Capital Analytics, NACREIF, CompStack, Insight, have come together. Well, I mean, have come together to create an incredible backbone. So we have about 4,000 variables, 13 databases, 29 data sets, at a cost, and if we were to make this payment for this database, it would cost about $1.3 million. So we're really grateful to our data lab partners for doing this. In the back, we have 2 fantastic, oh, they got Phoebe and Lewis, who work on the project Innovation. So have we ever wanted to figure out where all those hipsters are working, and what is Python anyway, and what are on? Well, we asked that question too, and so we have done a great deal of analysis on the capital and what is important for human capital in a physical place. We track every single startup, the new types of startups, anything that has to do with robotics and artificial intelligence. And then we find out what is the human capital that goes into making this. Where are they clustering and what are they working on? Then I have in the far right corner over here, Sam and Yair. Sam and Yair work on our beloved project of the life of technology. So if we really want to understand what is coming down the pipeline for us, what are the new technological processes, products, and real estate innovation products that will be entering into your portfolio in the near time soon, what are those going to be? When I first started here at MIT, I said the word co-working out loud. People said I was crazy. They said I was nuts. They were like, that's funny. That's never going anywhere. And I said, okay, well, you're probably right. I'm a young kid. I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm just learning. And here we are several years later with increased market saturation of floor plate space and a behemoth, the so-called WeWork, entering into the room. But that was not the only product that we had to sort of work on. So green buildings, data centers, fiber-lit buildings, telecommunication infrastructure, indoor vertical food farms. That's another one that people say is sort of crazy. So we track a lot of these real estate products, but more importantly, we track the ones that we don't quite understand yet, like robotic moving buildings. They're in the lab. They're being invented at the Media Lab and at Harvard right down the street. I mean, let's see where this goes. But what Yair and Sam will introduce is that we study technologies in the lab, so general purpose technologies, the likes of which Eric was talking about yesterday. and we measure how long they take to get to market. The interesting thing that we found is that it takes about 25 to 30 years for the average technology today to come to market. About 100 years ago, that was on average 65 years. So we're getting faster. That's cool. The other thing that we learned is that technologies rarely die, but companies do. So the important thing is to pay attention to general purpose technologies because they are coming whether or we like it or not. Now, the rest of today is really going to be focused on hanging out with these very, very interesting projects that we're working on. Now that I'm done talking, I'm going to switch to the rules of the game. But before that, I'd like to thank our partners. Equity Office, JLL, Real Capital Analytics, they've been with us since the beginning. They stood by us when we were just a promise, when we were just, I'm going to put together a database of as many data providers as I can and see where it takes us. And they believed, and on the other side of it, we did. And we've produced more than we even thought we could. So we're really grateful to our sponsors for believing in us just a year and a half ago today. So how it works, how are you going to do this? There are 5 stations around the room. New York City-wide data project, innovation is in a place, the life of technology, get smart, connected, and green, and up here, real estate for economic growth. And each station has a project and the 2 team members that I've already introduced. Your job is to make it around this room and learn about each project in about 45 minutes. Now, just like any science fair at any time in your elementary school experience, you went and there was always a winner. Now, we have 2 anonymous judges in the room, and they will be walking around to decide who is the science fair winner for this morning. And at the end, we will announce the winners, and they will get a research prize. $250 will go into their research project, unless you'd like to make that more, to enhance one of the projects that they're working on. So, without further ado, please rise and engage around the room.